speakers. So the first speaker we're going to have is Annie Lappé from Vote Solar, and she is going to tell you her story. So let's give her a warm welcome.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Annie Lappé, and I'm the Managing Director of Campaigns at Vote Solar. So just so you guys know, and I won't talk about my job for much longer than this, but Vote Solar is a national nonprofit organization that works at the state level to advocate for solar becoming more accessible and more affordable through effective policy work. And that's all I'll tell you about my job. So this is a story about my journey. And I'm actually so thankful for the opportunity to be here because it resulted in me taking the weekend to think about what I wanted to say to you all and having these deep moments of gratitude for what my journey has been like so far. And that's why this talk is also entitled, Why Women Are So Awesome, because I've been so lucky to have incredible mentors along the way and to have basically almost exclusively worked for and worked with women. So I graduated college in 2002. I went to UC Santa Cruz, and I knew I wanted to move to Washington, D.C. In fact, I knew I wanted to work on clean energy policy, very specific, since I was about 15 years old. I did U.S. Model Congress in high school. I started our first environmental club, and it was just very clear to me that that was going to be my path, and it's been fantastic. So when I moved to DC, my first job was working at the Union of Concerned Scientists. And Kate Abend, who is pictured here with me at Bonnaroo, after she was no longer my boss, was my first female boss and my first real professional organizer role model. So she brought me into the Union of Concerned Scientists. She had worked for the PERGs, and she taught me everything I needed to know about how to be a professional advocate. And she did so much more than she needed to as my supervisor, as a 5-month intern. She took me to networking events almost every week. She took me to the Hill, to meetings I didn't need to be in. She let me talk at those meetings. She really showed me what it looked like to mentor a young woman. I didn't know it at the time, but she was showing me that. And then I went on to work for the Alliance to Save Energy. And there I had not one, but 3 amazing female bosses. So Kateria Callahan, who's over there in that gorgeous chartreuse jacket testifying at Congress, she just took over at the time and was the first female president of the Alliance to Save Energy. And she would walk into a room and command the room. Mostly it was room full of men. And she taught me what it looked like to be professional, to be confident. And then Carousel Rinaldi, also testifying here in Congress, and Kate Offringham, my other 2 bosses, showed me at the time, which I didn't realize until much later, what it looked like to be a working mother. They were both young mothers at the Alliance to Save Energy. They would bring their daughters with them to work sometimes. They'd go into other rooms to pump while they were writing their congressional testimony notes. And it just imprinted on me what it could look like to be a working mother, and that has been my template. It's doable, it's possible, but you have to fight and advocate for yourself to get the conditions you need. So after 3 years of DC, I left to go to grad school. I went abroad, and when I came back, I moved back to San Francisco, where I always wanted to live. And I found a job at this ragtag organization called Vote Solar. There were 3 people that worked there. And Adam Browning, who was the executive director then and is still today, brought me in and said, Annie, if you could be a queen for 3 days, what would you do to transform the solar industry? That was my interview. And I somehow stumbled through that answer and left, and I said, thank you, I know I'm not going to get this job, but it was really nice to meet you. And he said, not so fast. It's true, you're totally not qualified for the job we advertised for, but let's create a new job for you. So I became the federal policy director, and basically that meant I just worked on a campaign to extend the investment tax credit for about a year, if any of you guys remember that when it was about to expire. And so here's me with Gwen Rose. And so while Adam was my boss, the truth is I spent almost all my time at Vote Solar working with women. Vote Solar was then and is still today 70% female. Then we were 3 people, now we're 30. So Gwen took me climbing in Yosemite, and while we were climbing, we also talked about systems-oriented thinking and IT needs at Vote Solar, and her quantitative mind just totally blew me away and taught me so much about what it means to run an effective organization. And then there was Claudia Izaguirre, who taught me how to be a coalition builder. And this is her on the far right. And she taught me how many hours goes into building relationships, and that's not something that you can skirt past. You just have to put in the time, and you have to be authentic and really show up and co-create an agenda together. And I owe her so much in terms of learning how to be a compassionate and empathetic organizer. So here we are at my baby shower, and at this point, Claudia and Gwen had already become mothers, and they had again shown me what it looks like to be a working mother. Claudia had pushed for 7 months off at Vote Solar. Adam said, okay, I guess that's reasonable. Which is really unheard of in a lot of industries, to get to be able to take that much time off. And then there was Rosalind Jackson, and she and I both started in 2008 at Vote Solar, and she taught me about humor and how to be a good writer, and we still work every single day together, and it's been about 10 years, and I couldn't respect her more, and she is just the heart and soul of Vote Solar. And so I know that these women, made an impact in my life because I left Vote Solar. I left the cozy nest of a supportive, warm environment, and I went to work at Sun Edison in 2010. And that was, at the height of Sun Edison's success in the industry. And I got there, I moved to Colorado for the job, and I knew within about a week that it was not the right fit. And it was a really low point after, moving across the country for a job and realizing, oh my gosh, this is a toxic culture. How am I going to work here? I was driving to Denver every day, listening to a book on tape on how to de-stress your brain. Just thinking, is this really the way it should be? I was afraid to speak up in meetings, and there were no women on the leadership team at Sun Edison. There were hardly any women in the entire organization, and it felt so different. I just had no idea how lucky I had been until that point to be in organizations that women led, or that women were really a big part of creating the culture of. So I left after a year and a half, and I went back to Vote Solar, and I've been there ever since. And so now I manage a team of about 9 people, the majority of which are women, and I love it there. And there's 4 out of 6 of us on the leadership team that are women, and I think that really makes a big difference. So, for example, this last year we formalized our parental leave policy, and now every woman, every man can take 7 months off, 6 weeks unpaid, and that's just the norm. And if you need more, we will give it to you. And so that's pretty great. And also, they support a flexible work-life balance. So I'm a managing director, and I have a full team, and I work 24 hours a week. I work part-time because I have 2 kids under 4. And so I go home every day at 3, I pick one up from preschool, and then on Fridays, we go to the bounce house and play at parks. So that's my life, and I've chosen to work at an organization like Vote Solar because it supports women in all the different facets of our life, as workers, as mothers, as people who choose not to be mothers. It all works. So I just want to end by saying thank you to all the women who have mentored me, and just remind each and every one of us that even if we're not intentionally mentoring women right now, we probably are. So I want to think more about what I can do intentionally to be a better mentor to young women entering the field. And I just want to say thank you for all that you guys, I'm sure, are already doing to do the same. So thank you so much.